Damn, bro, this deck rocks.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
What's up? This is Undead from Team 6K, and I'm bringing you, what do they call these things? Chromosomes. Yeah. So anyway, let's have a look at this chromosome archetype. All right. So to understand how the deck functions, we first need to look at the skill. Gateway to another dimension. So you send a monster from your deck or extra deck to the grave to change the level of all monsters on your field, the level or rank of the monster you have sent to the grave. This is once per turn. I don't believe there's any restriction on the amount of times you can use it, but it is just once per turn. If you send a monster to your grave from deck, so your main deck, which you're usually not going to choose, but you can choose in the late game, you can send a monster from your grave back to your hand. This is essentially a great follow-up play. It's not often going to be necessary, but you can do it if you feel like your grave is too chunky, you need more things in hand, right? And the skill will only activate if your deck only has Chronomalies and light number exceeds in your deck. But that's all we have in the extra deck anyway, because the deck is focused around it. I said focused.
Brother, this guy stinks!
Anyway, so the best way that we can get multiple chronographs on the field is using Chronomaly Moai. And if you control a chronogram monster, you can special summon it from your hand in defense. In any Xyz based deck, you only need ways to get a whole bunch of bodies on field. The fact that it's just a very easy, just plop it on the field, right, is great, especially when all of the other Chronomalies do have the ability to normal summon themselves. And the fact that also Moai is searchable. How is it searchable, you ask? Well, you use Chronology Nebra Disk. If it's normal summon, you can add a Google Chrome card from your deck to your hand, except for itself. It does have a cool grave effect too, that if it is in grave and all of your monsters that are on your field are Chronomalies, you can just special summon it, which is cool, but you can't activate cards that turn except for Chronomaly cards, and you can't summon cards except for Chronomaly cards. So you couldn't use your generic cards like Book of Moon or MST, or whatever you have really. These are just the best options for staples, by the way. You can use whatever you want. So just forget about the staples. We're not really going to talk about that today. So the fact that this can search for Moai is fantastic, but it's not the only card that can search for Moai. Crystal Skull can also search for it, because if you control a chronogram monster, you can discard it to search for a chronograph monster, right? So you could use this to summon it to search for it instead. But if you control both of these, you could just search for two different things, or you could search for two copies of Moai if you wanted. You know, the consistency is just through the roof because you have 6 searchers, bro, and the fact that this searcher can be searched for with this searcher, that is just so much. So oftentimes, what you're gonna do is you're gonna summon Nebra Disk, search for Crystal Skull, search for Moai, and just to set up your grave, right? And then you use Moai to special summon itself. Use this skill to make them either rank 4 or rank 6. You send Force Focus if you wanted to make it a rank 6, and you send Chateau Huyuk to make it a rank 4. And then you activate their effects, which we're going to talk about. But first, importantly, we should talk about Google Chrome Technology. You can target a chronology in your grave, banish it, then look at the 2 top cards of your deck and add 1 to hand. It doesn't say add a chromosome to hand. It says add a card to your hand. So let's say you have a staple on the top 2 cards of your deck. You could add that if you wanted. That's awesome. They really put the tech in the technology, didn't they? So, the last Chronomaly that we're going to talk about is Chronograph Crystal Bones. If your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can special summon it, which is really great. It's just that it's less versatile than Moai. But what makes it better than Moai is that if it's summoned this way, you can special summon a Google Chrome monster from your grave. It's really awesome. You just put two bodies on the field without even normal summoning. You can still normal summon. That is so much. That's so much. So you can use Gateway to the Other Dimension, also, and then potentially have another Xyz play after that. What do we summon in with all this? The main thing I feel for this deck is number 6, Google Chrome Atlandis. When it's Xyz summoned, you can target a number monster in grave, equip it to this card. This card gains attack equal to half the attack of the equipped monster, and then once per turn, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, then send the monster equipped by this effect to the grave and half your opponent's life points. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect. So what's cool about this is that the skill will put a number monster in the grave for you. Force Focus. And with its 2800 attack stat, it'll make the Atlantis gain 14. 26 plus 14 is 4k. That's lethal. that's lethal on its own. But if you went first, right, or something, you could just half their life points, you know, because you don't have a battle phase anyway. Might as well, right? But what else can you summon? You can also summon Chateau Huyuk, which has a quick effect. It's a really good quick effect too. You can detach a material from it to target your opponent's monster and make it 0 attack. And the fact that it can be activated during the damage step because it edits attack and defense stats means that your opponent can't respond to it if you use it in the damage step. So you use this when they attack into you or when you attack into it and they can't respond. They're just going to have to take that damage. So they're going to have to remove this. But even better, because it's a quick effect if they try to remove it, you can still activate this in chain to make their monster 0 attack. That's so cool. It does have another effect where you can tribute a Chronomaly and target a monster your opponent controls whose current attack is different from its original attack and destroy it. And while this does synergize with its first effect to make one of their monsters 0, there's not really a point to it. Where this is good, however, is if your opponent happens to be playing a deck that summons a monster whose attack is different from its original attack, right? So like if your opponent like boosted their monster, you can just destroy it that way and make another one of their monsters have 0 attack, you know? But Force Focus, you can technically summon it in this deck sometimes, not all the time because some of your monsters lock you into Chronomalies. But this is mainly here because it is a light number Xyz, right? And the fact that it's the biggest one that we have access to, and it's a level 6, right? So we can send it to the grave to make all of our monsters level 6 to easily make Atlantis. But yeah, this deck is very simple. You'll see in the replays just how effective this simplicity is. You can really play whatever text you want, but I would recommend, if you don't have Book of Moon or Breakthrough Skill, you should probably play Forbidden Chalice as negating your opponent's effects by giving them 400 attack. You know, while that might normally be a little bit dangerous if you're making your opponent's monster bigger than your monster, Chateau Huyuk will mitigate that downside by making them 0 attack afterwards, right? You know what I mean? You could even activate Chateau Huyuk to target their monster, and they could chain that monster's effect. Let's say they try to negate Huyuk, then you could use your Breakthrough Skill or your Forbidden Chalice to negate that effect. Since Forbidden Chalice activates first to give them 400 attack because it was most recent on the chain, it will gain the 400 attack. Then when that monster's effect goes to resolve, it will be negated by Forbidden Chalice, and then Huyuk's effect will resolve to make it 0 attack, meaning that the 400 attack boost never really mattered. But the gameplay, but the playstyle of this deck and the game plan Uh, it might be a little bit difficult to imagine without the replays. So let's just have a look at them. All right. So first up, we have a game against Vendreads. This is just going to be a very simplistic replay. So we're just going to normal summon our Nebra disc, which will search us a copy of Moai. Of course, since we already have Crystal Skull, we don't need to use Crystal Skull to search for Moai. We'll use we will use Crystal Skull to search for the follow-up Nebra disc. We're going to send to grave a copy of Atlantis, summon a new copy of Atlantis, and then we're going to equip the Atlantis from the grave, simply detach, send to grave, and burn our opponent for 2k. This is actually a little bit more relevant than you think. Imagine you starting the duel with 2k life. You're automatically at disadvantage, and the fact that this guy is 3k at defense, that's a little bit difficult to get through, especially when you have some back row, right? So he's gonna normal summon Sonic Bird. We're gonna negate it. They're going to have a play anyway. So they're gonna use Revendread Evolution and a copy of Slayer to summon Slayer. They're pretty much just gonna end their turn from here because us stopping their summon really put a hamper on their plays. We're gonna summon Nebra Disc, search another copy of Moai. We're gonna go ahead, summon Moai. Send from our extra deck a copy of Chateau Huyuk to make a new copy of Chateau Huyuk. We're just going to activate targeting Sonic Bird, and they know we have lethal, so they just scoop it up. So we're going second against Blue Eyes. Their deck isn't that great. However, I do feel like this replay does show off what the deck does pretty well. You just set a back row, set what is obviously a stone, right? So we just MST that back row, summon Nebra Disc to search for a technology. We're going to use Crystal Bones to search for Moai. We're going to use Technology to banish from grave to look at the 2 top cards and add a Book of Moon. What a great card that this deck has searchable access to. But yeah, we're going to send Force Focus to grave to equip third turn. Summon our copy of Atlantis. Atlantis is going to summon Force Focus. Well, not summon, equip Force Focus. Burn our opponent for 2k, because we're not going to, we're not trying to go into attack into our opponent's obvious stone to let him banish our back row. That would be dumb. But yeah, he's going to activate Ultimate Dragons, summon the Twin Burst Dragon. Pretty great monster who would ordinarily be able to get rid of us. But we do have a copy of Breakthrough Skill. We're just going to Breakthrough Skill them. It's going to be negated. Our monster's going to survive. Next turn, what we're going to do is summon Chateau Huyuk again. It's very simple, really. Just burn them for 2k, turn 1. Turn 2, summon Chateau Huyuk, attack them for 2k, because it doesn't really matter how much attack or defense they have. They're about to die. This deck is incredibly effective and simple. And you might look at it like, oh, what, it only does damage, right? So that's not very good. But I mean, look at it. It's just doing damage better than any other deck for some reason. All right, so we're going first against Water Exceeds. Solid ass deck, right? But they're playing the 30 cards trap heavy version. Our hand is pretty alright. We have Nebra Disc. We search for Crystal Skull. Crystal Skull is going to search, of course, for Moai. We're going to summon Moai, right? We're going to use our skill, Gateway to Another Dimension, to send a copy of Force Focus, so we can summon Chronomaly Atlantis to equip Force Focus. Every duel, right? Burn them for 2k. This deck is nuts, man. Anyway, so oh damn, they're playing Cristrons. I was wrong. I was thinking of another replay that I'm not showing today. It wasn't as cool. But yeah, this deck is even better. But yeah, they're gonna go into Coral Dragon. They're going to try to pop us. We're gonna negate it. We don't care. Is that a prismatic? Damn, that's a prismatic Coral Dragon. Goddamn, nice. They're gonna use Rosenix to summon a token so they can go into their next synchro. And they're gonna get a couple of floating effects. They're gonna get a search and a draw. So they get free fodder for their destruction effect, which they're gonna activate, discarding 2 cards to target 2 of our cards. We are, however, going to negate them. Again, it's just one of those hands. It happens. You know what I mean? But they still have plays. You know, they're going to search for a trap. They're going to set two. We're going to MST one of those back rows though. Draw a card, see what we get. We are so good at top decking. We get another Nebra disc. But we have so many consistency cards in this deck that it makes perfect sense. So yeah, we summon Moai. We use the skill to send a rank 4. And then we make Chateau Huyuk. Go to attack. And in damage step, use Chateau Huyuk. They can't respond. And it's game. Alright, so this is the game against Water Exceeds that I thought it was last time. But yeah, solid hand. We only have solid hands. This is an incredibly consistent deck. It's like pretty much impossible to brick here. Right? We have so many searchers. So we're gonna special summon Crystal Bones, use Nebra Disc to search for Crystal Skull. Crystal Skull is gonna discard to search for another Crystal Bones just for a follow-up play, right? We're going to send our copy of Force Focus to the grave so we can go into Atlandis. Atlantis, of course, re-equip Force Focus. Force Focus, burn them for 2k, set back row, and see what they're going to do. Alright, cool. They have heavy infantry that gives them an additional normal summon. We're going to book them, however, but they still have an additional, they still have their regular normal summon to do. They are playing that trap, I guess. But yeah, they go into their copy of Spider Shark, which they're going to attack into us, but we are going to break through skill them. Oh no, we're not going to break through skill. I'm done. We are going to next turn, however, because we have a fantastic follow-up play. We special summon and allows us to special summon again. We're going to use Gateway to the different dimension, sending a rank 4, so we can make Chateau Huyuk. We're going to set our Book of Moon, go into battle phase. He's going to chain. We're going to negate. And then he's going to summon Canadia, but it doesn't matter, because in damage step, we're going to use Chateau Huyuk to make him 0 and attack him for game. You see, doing damage for some reason is really, really good. I wouldn't expect, genuinely, I would not expect this deck or this type of playstyle to be so good, but the fact that we can just so easily 4,000 damage it's just nuts. Alright, so as you can see, we're pretty high on the win streak. The final win streak of this deck was 16 wins. Can you imagine 16 win streak first try? Like, this deck is nuts, man. Don't sleep on it, because it's not going to sleep on you. It's going to deal 4,000 you, and it's not going to give a damn about your attack values. Well, just doing the regular combo, right? Setting Force Focus. Oh no, not Force Focus. This game, we decided to see if we can do well with Chateau Huyuk going first, which is actually a very cool turn 1 play. They're playing Fire Kings, right? You know, they're going to be able to destroy our stuff, which is, you know, it is a solid strategy against this deck. However, we can still reduce them. So they're going to destroy everything. However, we are going to make them have 0 attack. So next up, we're going to use Technology, banish Skull from grave, add Breakthrough skill. They see that we add Breakthrough skill, and they're like, hell nah, I'm not about to get Breakthrough skill, and they scoop it up. All right, so this is our last duel. We're going against Photons. This is kind of the first time we've bricked, essentially. Like, it's so impossible to brick with this deck, but we're still fine, because we set a whole bunch of really decent back row, right? Where they're playing Photons, right? Their hand also isn't that good, but you know, we both bricked, so we'll see how it goes. So, they Galaxy Cyclone, right? They summon Crasher, they attack. But we are better at top decking than they are, of course, because we have so much consistency. So yeah, we're gonna Nebra Disc, because we haven't normal summoned. We're going to search our copy of a new Crystal Bones for a follow-up play, because we really, really feel like we're going to need it. We're going to send our Chateau Huyuk to make a Chateau Huyuk. Break that board. Alright, we're going to attack. In the damage step, make it 0. If they attack into us, they can't attack into us, but we're going to make them 0 and make them lose the duel immediately. I think that they know that because they've read this card, but oftentimes the opponent's not even going to read. They're just going to attack into it not knowing its effect, and then they're going to lose doing direct damage to themselves effectively. So they're going to go into Galaxion. They're going to detach 2 materials to summon, but they're going to get breakthrough skilled, of course. They're not doing too well today. All we need to do is attack one more time and we win. And that's pretty much what we're going to do, but not after getting treacherous. But yeah, we have the Book of Moon to keep ourselves alive, right? But we're going to top deck, of course, because this deck is fantastic at top decking, right? So we're going to use Gateway to Another Dimension. Yep, and they're just going to scoop it up. We just follow up far better than they do, essentially. But yeah, that's going to be the last replay of the day. You know, yeah, genuinely, I thought this deck was cool, but I didn't think it was like this good. Like a 16 win streak. Do you understand? A 16 win streak, 16-0, just from doing a bunch of damage. Like, this is not Onomats and should not be treated like Onomats. Like, don't be trying to just make a bad version of Onomats in this deck. Like, the Chronomaly Xyz are all you need to win, so just play them. They're really good. But hey, I hope you liked the Google Chrome deck, and let me know how you feel about it in the comments. That's going to be me, Undead, and I'll see you next time.